The galaxy held its breath as the human diplomat, Ambassador Celine Armitage, floated into the heart of the Alien Council's grand chamber. Her ship, sleek and silver, hovered silently above the surface, reflecting the millions of lights that adorned the alien capital. Every eye in the chamber turned toward her, a mix of curiosity, contempt, and disbelief etched across alien faces. The Council had been warned. Humanity had grown, technology advanced, and the time for ignoring them was over. Yet the leaders smirked, confident in their superiority, convinced that the humans' appeals were nothing more than desperate noise. Celine, her hands folded calmly, walked forward, her voice steady as she addressed the Council. "We come in peace," she said simply, every word clear and unyielding. "But peace requires respect. Ignoring our species comes at a cost you may not wish to pay." Her words echoed through the vast chamber, but the Council did not flinch. Instead, a shadow of cruelty passed across the face of the highest leader, a being whose name had become a whisper of fear across multiple star systems. "Words mean nothing to the weak," it hissed. The aliens had decided to demonstrate their power, and in that instant, the galaxy's future teetered on the edge of a knife. Without warning, the Council activated a ceremonial chamber beneath. Selena's feet, a trap hidden beneath layers of diplomacy and arrogance. Alien flames, concentrated and controlled by technology far beyond human imagination, rose in a sudden lethal surge. Selena's eyes widened, not with fear, but with understanding. This was no mere execution. It was a statement, a display intended to terrify humanity into submission. Her crew, observing from orbit, froze in horror, unable to intervene without risking a full-scale war. The flames engulfed the diplomat, and the chamber filled with the sound of alien laughter, cold and triumphant. Across the galaxy, transmissions from the human fleet captured the event, sending shockwaves to every corner of the star systems. Humanity watched, outraged and silent, their emotions boiling from grief to anger. The Council had thought this act would break them, humiliate them, and end their influence. They had miscalculated. For the humans, this was not a defeat. It was a spark, a catalyst for every hidden strength, every calculated plan, every weapon waiting in the shadows. The diplomat's flame would ignite something far greater than fear. It would awaken a force. The Council could not imagine Captain Leela Hunter, commanding the human fleet stationed on the outskirts of the sector, clenched her fists as she observed the betrayal. Her eyes burned with determination, every breath measured, every thought focused on the moment to strike. "They think they've won," she said quietly, voice steady despite the anger coursing through her. "But they've only shown their arrogance. They've made their first mistake." Her fleet, small compared to the Council's overwhelming numbers, moved with quiet precision, hidden in the shadows of asteroids and nebulae. Advanced cloaking technology masked their presence, and drones, invisible to the Council's sensors, began silently mapping weak points in the alien defense grid. Every crew member understood the weight of the moment. Revenge was not chaos. It was strategy, intelligence, and patience. Humanity had been underestimated for too long. And now, every resource, every skill, and every mind was poised to deliver a lesson that would ripple across the galaxy. The diplomat's sacrifice had not ended them. It had ignited a plan that would leave alien leaders trembling before human ingenuity. Back in the Alien Council, the leaders celebrated, unaware of the storm forming just beyond their reach. They boasted of their dominance, their ability to humiliate a species they considered weak. But subtle malfunctions began to ripple through their systems, communications delayed, sensors misreading, drones vanishing. Captain Hunter's reconnaissance fleet was already in motion, exploiting every minor flaw, every predictable move, every overconfidence in the Council's ranks. The humans had learned to think like their adversaries, to anticipate arrogance, to exploit mistakes before they became fatal. The galaxy's strongest council, so sure of their power, was about to discover that brains, precision, and strategy could outweigh sheer size and numbers, and the diplomat's death, tragic as it was, would be the catalyst for a counterstrike no one could foresee. Suspense hung in the vacuum of space as the first moves of retaliation began, slow, silent, yet unstoppable. The Council's pride had blinded them, and every second of hesitation would cost them dearly. Selena's image, broadcast across the galaxy before her death, became a symbol. Children, soldiers, and leaders alike watched in disbelief, anger, and awe. "They burned one of us," whispered voices across star systems. "But humanity will not fall. They will rise." Captain Hunter knew that the first strike must be patient, calculated, and precise. There would be no reckless vengeance. Every human ship, every drone, every plan had been designed for this moment. The galaxy, watching the flames that consumed, Selene felt the tension of impending conflict. Could a species once underestimated truly challenge the mightiest council? The answer would not come with words or speeches. It would come with action, strategy, and brilliance, displayed on a scale that would shake civilizations. And humanity was ready. The Diplomat's flame had not ended them. It had lit the path to a storm the galaxy had never seen before. In the cold emptiness of space, the human fleet moved silently, like shadows unseen and undetected. Captain Leela Hunter commanded from the flagship Vigilant, her eyes scanning holographic maps that displayed the alien sector in vivid detail. The galaxy had witnessed the Council's cruelty. Burning Ambassador Selene had been an act meant to humiliate and end humanity. But the humans had learned long ago that true strength was not in numbers alone. It was in intelligence, strategy, and precision. Every ship in the fleet carried hidden weapons, cloaked drones, and advanced sensor jammers designed to evade even the most sophisticated alien technology. The Council believed they had destroyed the Diplomat to break humanity's spirit. Truth, they had awakened a force that was calculating, patient, and lethal. As Lila watched the sector, every blinking light and every shadow told a story weaknesses to exploit, mistakes the aliens had made in arrogance, and opportunities that would soon be turned into decisive strikes. The aliens were not yet aware of the human presence. Patrols scoured the outer regions, confident in their ability to detect any intruder. Massive cruisers glided in formation, their weapons primed, their shields crackling with energy. Yet the humans moved like whispers across the void, cloaked vessels threading between asteroids, nebulae, and gravitational anomalies. Drones darted ahead, invisible to sensors, mapping patrol patterns, noting vulnerabilities, and relaying data. Back to the flagship. Every officer on Vigilant knew the weight of the moment. One wrong move could trigger discovery and disaster. But one right move could change the balance of power forever. Lila's voice, calm and precise, cut through the quiet hum of the bridge. "Patience. Observe. Record everything. They will show us their weaknesses before we strike." Her crew executed flawlessly, understanding that subtlety, timing, and intelligence were their greatest weapons. The aliens, confident in their superiority, were already walking into a trap they could not see as the human fleet closed in. Subtle signs of panic began to ripple through the alien patrols.
Ow.
Sensors flickered, communication relays glitched, and several ships reported anomalies, drones disappearing without explanation, shields fluctuating unpredictably, and weapons locking up at critical moments. The aliens assumed these were technical faults, not realizing that human technology had silently infiltrated and sabotaged their systems. Every misstep, every hesitation, every doubt they felt was carefully orchestrated by the humans. Lila Hunter's calm eyes followed the data streams, noting every flaw. "They think they control the void," she said softly. "But the void is ours to manipulate." The humans' advantage was not raw firepower, it was cunning, planning, and the ability to anticipate every arrogant move the Council would make. Across the galaxy, tension built as invisible threads of strategy connected the human fleet to their prey. A deadly dance unfolding in silence, unseen but undeniable. Behind the alien lines, Commander Varkon and his officers were unaware of the storm approaching. They believed the Diplomat's death had crippled humanity, that the humans were weak, predictable, and afraid. Yet subtle signals told a different story. Ships moving in impossible trajectories, drones vanishing from sensors, and graviton pulses disrupting patrol coordination. The Council fleet, confident in their superiority, was unknowingly leading humanity straight to the weaknesses they had left exposed. Leela watched each movement, her mind calculating outcomes, predicting reactions, and preparing contingencies. Every blink of the holographic display revealed patterns, and every pattern revealed opportunities. "They will make the first mistake," she whispered. "And when they do, we will be ready." Suspense hung thick in the void as both sides prepared, the humans patient predators waiting for the Council to stumble. The galaxy could feel the tension even from light years away. The first strike was coming. It would be precise, calculated, and unstoppable as the minutes stretched into hours. Human-cloaked drones mapped critical nodes in the Council's outer defenses supply lines. Shield generators and communication arrays. One by one, weak points emerged, revealing that arrogance had made the aliens predictable. Lila's fleet held in position, invisible and silent, poised like hunters, ready to strike at the perfect moment. The first ambush would not be a chaotic assault. It would be surgical, strategic, and devastating. Every crew member understood the gravity. The galaxy had watched the Diplomat burn. And now humanity would respond, not with blind fury, but with brilliance, patience, and lethal efficiency. The Council had thought a single act of cruelty would end humans. Instead, it had revealed the full depth of human resolve. The shadows in the void moved silently, unseen, a hidden storm gathering before the first flash of action and the galaxies. Most arrogant leaders had no idea the reckoning had already begun. The silence of space shattered in an instant as human ships emerged from the shadows, cloaks deactivated with surgical precision. Captain Lila Hunter's fleet, small but deadly, struck at the Council's patrols with a force the aliens could not predict. Drones zipped between ships, disabling engines and communications, while precision lasers targeted weapon systems, leaving enemy vessels crippled before they could react. Across the galaxy, alarms blared, and alien officers shouted orders in panic, realizing that their arrogance had led them straight into an ambush. The humans moved like a single entity, every ship anticipating the next move, every strike calculated to create maximum chaos with minimum exposure. The Council had assumed that numbers alone would protect them, but intelligence, strategy, and patience now dictated the battlefield. Every pulse of energy, every silent maneuver, demonstrated that humanity was no longer the species they had dismissed. It was a force that could outthink, to outmaneuver, and outfight any opponent. Commander Varkin, watching from the bridge of the Central Command ship, felt his confidence crumble. "Focus fire. Destroy them," he shouted. But the humans had already disabled half his fleet's critical systems. Weapons misfired, shields collapsed, and ships drifted helplessly, vulnerable. To the next wave, the humans exploited every mistake with precision, turning panic into opportunity and hesitation into disaster. Captain Hunter's voice resonated calmly over the fleet's comms. "Target command ships, isolate them. Do not overextend. Let them falter." Her crew executed flawlessly, disabling alien communications first, then systematically striking engines and weapons. Chaos spread through the Council fleet like wildfire, and for the first time, even seasoned alien officers understood that they were facing a species unlike any they had encountered before. The first major blow came when a cloaked human drone infiltrated the Council's central command station, uploading a virus that caused weapon systems to shut down across multiple cruisers. Varkin's fury escalated as his ships, once thought invincible, became floating tombs of metal and confusion. Attempts to retaliate only revealed more weaknesses as humans anticipated and countered each desperate move. The Council's arrogance, once their strength, had become their downfall. Across the battlefield, every alien ship that attempted to regroup found itself isolated, targeted, and disabled with surgical precision. Captain Hunter allowed herself a brief smile. Humanity's first strike was not just successful, but it was a demonstration, warning to the galaxy that any attempt to underestimate them would be met with calculated and unstoppable force, as the human fleet withdrew slightly after the first wave. The Council's leaders realized the magnitude of the threat. Panic-stricken messages relayed between ships revealed confusion, fear, and disbelief. They had expected humans to be weak, predictable, and submissive. Instead, they faced an enemy that could think, adapt, and strike with deadly precision. "Captain," Hunter watched the chaos unfold with satisfaction. "They will carry this lesson with them," she said quietly. "This is the beginning of understanding. They will respect us, or they will suffer." Across the galaxy, whispers of awe and fear began to circulate. Small colonies, neutral factions, and distant observers all noted the unprecedented efficiency of the humans. Species once dismissed as insignificant had proven that intelligence, strategy, and courage could overcome the greatest of threats. The first strike set the stage for the battles to come. Humans had shown that sheer firepower was not necessary to dominate. Precision, planning, and patience were enough. The Council fleet, battered and humiliated, would now understand that they had awoken a force unlike any before. Captain Hunter's eyes glinted as she prepared the next move. Every crew member knew that the true test was still ahead, and that the galaxy was about to witness the rise of humanity not as victims, but as unstoppable strategists, leaders, and warriors. The first strike was complete, but it was only the prelude to a storm the aliens could not yet imagine, a storm that would redefine power, respect, and fear in the galaxy forever. The galaxy trembled as Captain Lila Hunter's fleet emerged near. The alien capital, a silent, unyielding force that neither arrogance nor firepower could ignore. Ambassador Selena's sacrifice had ignited a resolve that spread through every human ship, every crew member, and every hidden drone. Cloaked warships glided unseen through asteroid belts, scanning the Council's defenses, mapping every flaw, and preparing for a strike that would show the galaxy the true cost of underestimating humanity. The aliens, still celebrating their cruelty and convinced of their invincibility, had no idea the storm was already upon them. Hunter's fleet moved with lethal precision, every vessel a silent testament to strategy, planning, the brilliance that had turned a tragedy into a prelude for vengeance. Across the void, tension built, alarms flared, and alien officers began to feel the first creeping threads of fear, a sensation they had long believed impossible when dealing with humans. The first target was the Council's command hub, a sprawling complex surrounded by a flotilla of massive cruisers and defense platforms. Cloaked drones infiltrated the perimeter, silently disabling communication relays, weapon systems, and engine cores. Alien ships scrambled, their movements erratic and uncoordinated as they tried to react to a threat they could not see. "Do not rush," Hunter instructed, her voice calm yet commanding. "Patience, precision, every move counts." Her crew followed flawlessly, knowing that a single miscalculation could endanger the mission. The humans' assault was unlike anything the Council had faced, not brute force, intelligence turned into weaponry, patience transformed into dominance. Every disabled ship, every paralyzed weapon system was a message. Humanity was clever, prepared, and unstoppable when pushed to the brink. Commander Varkon, observing the chaos from his flagship, could hardly comprehend the scale of human strategy. His fleet, once a symbol of invincibility, was falling apart piece by piece. "Focus fire," he barked, panic rising in his voice, but every attempt to regroup was met with failure. Cloaked drones struck again and again, cutting engines, scrambling sensors, and creating zones of absolute confusion. The Council's arrogance, once their shield, had become their greatest vulnerability. Every misstep they made was amplified by the humans' foresight, every hesitation exploited with surgical precision. The death of the Diplomat had not broken humanity, it had refined them, sharpened their focus, and turned grief into a weapon more deadly than any laser or missile. As the battle unfolded, humans moved closer to the Council's core defenses, striking key command nodes and defensive platforms with precision that left alien officers speechless. Ships once thought invincible were now helpless, drifting as humans disabled engines and weapon arrays systematically. Panic spread like wildfire. Communication between the council's leaders broke down entirely, and ships collided in confusion. Hunter's fleet, small but perfectly coordinated, operated with a grace and intelligence that seemed almost preternatural. Across the galaxy, observers witnessed the fall of a once feared force, realizing that numbers alone could no longer guarantee victory. Humanity had turned intelligence, strategy, and patience into a weapon that no arrogance could withstand. The climax of the assault came when the central command platform began to falter, shields collapsing under precise strikes from multiple vectors. Human drones disabled the last functioning weapons arrays, leaving the Council's leaders exposed and powerless. Varkin's fury turned to desperation, but there was nothing left to do. His fleet was fractured, his pride shattered, and his empire humiliated. Captain Hunter allowed herself a quiet, satisfied smile. The diplomat's revenge had been exacted, not with blind rage, but with methodical brilliance that demonstrated humanity's true power. Across the galaxy, the story of the humans' retaliation spread, awe and fear mingling in every system. A species once dismissed as weak had shown that intelligence, courage, and strategy could topple even the mightiest of empires. Ambassador. Selena's sacrifice had not been in vain. It sparked a reckoning that would forever redefine respect, power, and fear across the stars. The Council fleet, once a symbol of absolute dominance, now staggered in disarray. Commander Varkan's pride, forged over centuries of conquest, was crumbling in real time as human strategy continued to unravel his forces. Ships that had been the backbone of the alien empire floated adrift, engines offline, shields flickering, and weapons unresponsive. Panic spread among officers as every attempt to issue orders was met with confusion, misfires, and collisions. Humanity had turned arrogance into weakness. Every flaw in alien pride amplified by precise strikes, sabotage, and psychological pressure. Captain Leela Hunter's fleet remained calm, composed, and relentless, moving like a single organism with every ship anticipating the enemy's next desperate reaction. They struck only where necessary, disabling command nodes, sabotaging communication networks, and leaving isolated vessels drifting helplessly in the void. Every alien officer watching realized, too late, that they had underestimated a species whose intelligence and patience surpassed all expectations. Varkin's voice trembled over the comms as he attempted to rally his officers. "Regroup. Focus fire on their flagship," shouted, but the humans had already anticipated such moves. Cloaked drones interfered with navigation, lasers disabled critical systems, and misdirected energy pulses left entire squadrons inoperative. The Council's arrogance had blinded them. They had believed that humiliation, fear, and force alone could control humanity. Instead, their own overconfidence became their undoing. Panic spiraled into chaos as internal disagreements erupted. Among leaders, each blaming the other for failures that were impossible to correct. Shields collapsed under calculated strikes, weapon arrays misfired, and communication lines fractured beyond repair.
Ow.
Humanity had not attacked recklessly, they had manipulated the battlefield, turning the enemy's pride into their weapon. Hesitation, every misjudgment. Every moment of overconfidence the Council exhibited was precisely the leverage humans needed to dominate. From the bridge of the Vigilant, Hunter observed the collapse with quiet satisfaction. "They believe themselves unbeatable," she said softly to her crew. "But every empire has a breaking point. Watch carefully. They are breaking themselves." Human drones infiltrated deeper, mapping vital structures, disabling command centers, and exposing the alien fleet's vulnerabilities. Every failure, every misfire, every collision among alien ships echoed across the galaxy, signaling to distant observers that the supposedly invincible Council was now vulnerable. Across the void, the galaxy held its breath as the humans demonstrated the power of intellect, strategy, and patience. The collapse was not just physical, it was psychological. Pride, arrogance, and centuries of assumed superiority dissolved before the calculated brilliance of a species long dismissed as insignificant. Varkin's officers, overwhelmed and fearful, began arguing over strategy while Hunter's fleet executed flawlessly. Cloaked vessels struck at command ships, disabled defensive platforms, and left alien vessels isolated and powerless. The Council's hierarchy, once unshakable, fractured under pressure as officers acted independently, often contradicting one another, creating gaps for humans to exploit. Panic replaced pride, and desperation replaced confidence. Hunter's voice, calm and commanding, guided her fleet through the chaos. Do not overextend. Keep control. Let them falter on their own, she instructed. Every human crew member understood the significance. The collapse of alien pride was not just a tactical victory, it was a statement. A message to the galaxy that humanity could outthink, outmaneuver, and outfight even the greatest empires when provoked. As the alien fleet faltered, systems failing, and officers scrambling in panic, the galaxy witnessed the full extent of human capability. Numbers, size, and assumed superiority were irrelevant. Intelligence, strategy, and patience had become the ultimate weapon. Every alien who survived would carry the knowledge that humanity was no longer to be underestimated, that a single species, underestimated for centuries, had turned humiliation and loss into calculated dominance. Humanity's strike was surgical, relentless, and psychological, teaching the Council a lesson they would never forget. The collapse of pride was complete. Arrogance had been dismantled, and the galaxy's perception of humans had changed forever. Captain Hunter allowed herself a faint smile. Now the stage was set for the final message. A demonstration of human power and resolve, a warning to the galaxy that they had awakened a force no one could ignore, the remnants of the alien. Council fleet trembled in the void, battered, humiliated, and unsure of how to respond. Commander Varkin stared at the human fleet hovering above the alien capital, their ships gleaming under the light of distant stars, shields active, weapons ready yet eerily calm. Captain Lila Hunter, standing on the bridge of the flagship Vigilant, observed the chaos with unwavering focus. The humans had struck not with blind rage, but with intelligence, precision, and patience. Every calculated move, every tactical strike, every drone sent through the shadows had proven that humanity was no longer a species to be dismissed. The Council had thought burning Ambassador Selene would end them, but it had only ignited a storm they could not control. Humanity's message was clear: respect them, or face consequences beyond imagination. The Council leaders, shaken and desperate, struggled to regain control. Orders were shouted, ships attempted to regroup, but the humans had anticipated every move. Cloaked vessels had disabled key command nodes, drones interfered with communication, and energy pulses left alien warships drifting helplessly. Varkan realized that arrogance, once their strength, had become their undoing. They had underestimated humans for centuries, assuming they were weak, predictable, and bound by fear. The truth was undeniable. Humans were brilliant, relentless, and fearless in the face of injustice. Captain Hunter knew the moment for final action had arrived, not to destroy blindly, but to deliver a message that would echo across the galaxy for generations. Human ships moved into formation around the alien capital, weapons systems calibrated, and shields raised, but they did not strike. Silence hung heavy, the calm before the ultimatum. Across the fleet, humans understood the gravity. This was a moment of power and restraint, a demonstration of intelligence over chaos. Hunter's voice rang clear across the comms. We do not attack the defenseless. We do not destroy without purpose. But let it be known, any further aggression, any insult to life, any act of arrogance against humanity will be met with precision and force beyond your imagination. Respect must be earned, and you have chosen the path of ignorance. The Council, stunned and fearful, absorbed every word. For the first time, they recognized that humanity was no longer a species to manipulate or terrorize. They were a force that demanded acknowledgement, capable of reshaping galactic power through intelligence, patience, and courage. The galaxy watched in awe as humanity held the line, neither attacking nor retreating, Observers on distant worlds felt the tension, knowing that the humans' patience was not weakness, but control. The diplomat's death had ignited a resolve that had turned into a methodical demonstration of strategy, bravery, and power. Varkin's officers, desperate and trembling, whispered to one another, realizing that the humans' discipline and foresight had neutralized every advantage they had believed unassailable. The Council fleet's pride had collapsed, and the lesson was unmistakable. Arrogance had consequences, and humanity had proven that they could exact justice without chaos, dominate without recklessness, and inspire awe through intellect and courage. As Captain Hunter gazed at the alien capital, she thought of Ambassador Celine, whose sacrifice had been the spark for this reckoning. The humans' actions honored her courage and sent a message that transcended mere war. Humanity would not be silenced, humiliated, or ignored. Across the void, transmissions spread, telling the story of the humans who had risen from tragedy to brilliance, from anger to methodical dominance. The Council fleet began to retreat, battered and humiliated, their confidence shattered. They had learned a lesson that would endure: never underestimate humanity, never mistake restraint for weakness, and never challenge a species capable of turning sorrow into strength and patience into power. In the aftermath, the galaxy understood that humanity's rise was more than military victory. It was a statement of identity, courage, and strategic brilliance. The diplomat's flame had sparked a force that could no longer be ignored. Captain Hunter, standing on the bridge of Vigilant, looked toward the stars, knowing the humans had not only survived, but had reshaped galactic perception forever. The ultimatum was clear: respect humanity, or face consequences that no arrogance could withstand. Across countless systems, civilizations began to whisper, realizing that the blue planet had awakened a force that would forever redefine power, respect, and fear in the galaxy. Humanity had arrived not as victims but as masters of strategy, intellect, and resolve. And the universe would never be the same again.